So, as I do every few years, I decided to start a total rewatch of the show Naruto. Despite it being one of my most successful videos so far, I never made another video on Naruto, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that I'm a fake anime fan. I don't really watch anime. I've watched Naruto. I haven't watched other animes all that much, because there's a lot of tropes that show up in anime that I'm just not a big fan of. Committing to an anime, especially the bigger ones, it's a commitment. You look at One Piece and it's got like 1,000+ episodes and it's still going, you know? So it's difficult to sit down and say, yeah, I'm going to watch that because it's going to be the next 4 months of your life. I got into Naruto as a kid in the comic and manga club in high school because I was that cool. It hit me as a kid, you know, I got it, but it never really branched out into a massive love of anime. So when it comes to analysing anime, I just don't feel qualified enough. I kind of feel like a bit of a faker in that regard. I mean, I watch the show in English, like some sort of heathen. The other reason is that if you watch any kind of anime YouTube, you know that Japanese animation companies are extremely, extremely litigious when it comes to copyright claims. Which basically makes it very difficult to make videos about, because it's very hard to make a video without having visuals on screen. That's half of what a video is, you know? And thirdly, because anime is so, especially Naruto, is so long, so stretched out, it's very hard to even gather that footage in the first place, because you're going to be picking up bits and pieces from 300 different episodes to talk about a particular character's arc. And it's a commitment in a way that talking about other TV shows just isn't. Anyway, if you're wondering why I never went back to Naruto, that's why. But it's my rewatch time, because I like to rewatch the show every few years. And this time I decided to commit to a particular personal project. And that is, I decided that I was going to watch every single episode. Filler is a word that's been kind of oversaturated these days, and people will apply it to anything that doesn't directly affect the plot, but that's not what it means, at least in anime circles. When you're talking about filler in an anime, you're talking about a very specific thing. It's a byproduct of the way that anime is made. See, most anime is adapted from manga books, like this one, which I own, because I started in the comic and manga club, and then I switched to the anime because it was much cheaper to continue the story than buying one of these every week. But generally speaking, anime adaptations start before the manga has actually finished its run. And the production cycle in anime is faster than the production cycle in manga, because this is pretty much made by one guy, writing it down every week and drawing it himself. So it takes longer, it just does. So what happens is, as the anime goes forward, it's going to progress the story faster than the manga is going, and it's going to catch up. And when it catches up, they have a couple options, right? They can either just verge and keep the story going in a completely different direction, which usually they don't do, or they can just do whatever for 100 episodes and just pad for time. And these parts of anime are universally hated usually. It's almost always suggested that you just skip them, because they don't advance the plot in any way. They're usually kind of weird and bad. They grind everything to a halt, and it becomes extremely obvious that nothing is happening anymore. We're just spinning wheels. And so there's websites that are dedicated to tracking all of this and basically giving you a watch list of which episodes to watch and which episodes to skip. And I would say, in general, on your first ever watch through of an anime, you should probably do that, because you're looking for the actual story, not the whatever else. But if, like me, you've already watched the full thing a couple of times, why not, right? I am kind of fascinated by filler, because when you look at it from a creative perspective, it's such a challenge to actually come up with. You've got these characters, your main characters, they have to be in the show, but you can't advance their story in any way whatsoever. They can't have any meaningful growth. They have to maintain the same, because all of their meaningful growth happens in the actual story. You can't explore any of the villains that you were going with before because their plots are saved for later. You have to go to like new locations. You have to do something. You can't just do nothing. But there's all these constraints on it, and fundamentally you know that 80% of the audience isn't ever going to watch it anyway. So you end up with just a very strange mixture of stuff and ideas, and writers trying to do things just to try and keep you watching, even though you know and they know that you don't want to be watching this, you want to be seeing what actually happens next in the story. And I think this results in some very strange outcomes, which I would like to talk about, but that in itself presents a few problems. First of all, I'm talking about filler, which no one cares about and no one has watched, which is an issue. I can't talk about it with any of my friends because they've not watched it. Most of my friends don't even watch Naruto. What am I supposed to do about that? That's of course why I made a YouTube channel in the first place, is to talk about stuff with you that no one else will talk to me about. So that's one solution solved. But the second is that the animation studios are famously litigious about copyright. So this video would be a nightmare to make. My solution to that is the solution that most anime YouTubers end up with, which is we're just going to do this PowerPoint style, classic 2008 YouTube vibes, right? Where it's just motion graphics and screen grabs, and you're just going to have to put up with that because I don't want to deal with, was it Viz Animation that does YouTube, Naruto, whatever. Same difference. Another problem. There's over 100 episodes of filler in the original Naruto show, which, to be clear, this video is just the original show. I'm still on my rewatch of Shippuden. We'll get to that when we get to that, I guess. Oh, also, I didn't record any of the episodes when I was going through, and I'll be fucked if I'm going through and watching them all again to record them. So with all that said, there's the other obvious question, which is, why am I doing this? Is this a good video to make? I don't really know. You're still watching, so I assume you're interested in what I have to say. And I'll say, if you haven't watched filler, or even if you haven't watched Naruto, there's probably some fun stuff in here, because this stuff gets pretty wild. I do want to establish some ground rules, right? Because there's different variations of filler. And there's some that are just not worth talking about at all. There's a couple recap episodes, which are just totally pointless. It's just pure flashbacks, and that is filler. And it's filler purely designed for TV runtimes. Anime in general, especially Naruto, is not really designed for the streaming age. It's designed for weekly release on TV. So if there's an episode that's just recapping the previous season, it's because the show's been off the air for 7 months, right? So we'll just skip that. There's other filler, which is just expansion on stuff that is canonical, like expanding fights, filling in some backstory and stuff that's integrated into the main episodes, and that's just too hard to pick apart to really properly analyze, so we're just going to skip that too. We're focusing on pure, this episode is 100% made up. Oh, and also I watched the movies, because that they basically count too. They've got nothing to do with the main plot except for one, but overall they're just weird side adventures, so they basically qualify for exactly the same thing that the filler arcs do. And I'm going to be ranking this on a simple thumbs up, thumbs down, thumb in the middle system. So watch, skip, maybe. And with all that said, this is going to take a while, and I've already spent much longer than I anticipated talking about the introduction here, so I think it's best if we just get started. So settle in and let's talk about some very strange obscure television. Naruto's filler is a little bit different from other shows because it's almost entirely backloaded. In other shows, usually the filler arcs are kind of interspersed between the main ones, as opposed to the original show where there's a couple filler episodes before the end, but basically the last half of the original Naruto show is entirely filler, as they were basically killing time before starting Shippuden, so they had more time for that story to properly develop first. And that makes it extremely easy to skip. I would guess that the filler for the original Naruto show has been skipped a lot more than the filler for Shippuden, because the Shippuden filler is more kind of integrated into the story, whereas it's very obvious in the original Naruto that it all just becomes filler after a while, and it's really easy to see that because it basically becomes an episodic TV show as opposed to an ongoing concurrent storyline. But before we get to that, we have one comedy episode, one small filler arc, and one movie. So let's talk about those. Episode 101, Kakashi's True Face. I'm going to give this one a thumbs up. This is a watch. It's a simple, short, funny episode. It's entirely for comedy. It's very silly. Basically, Team 7 decide they want to see Kakashi's true face because he's always wearing a mask. And they do various hijinks in order to try and do that. And also there's a team of weirdos who want to kill Kakashi because he wronged them in the past. And they're very silly. It's a lot of... if you don't enjoy anime humor, then you won't enjoy it because it's mostly anime humor, which I don't know if I have to define that because it's, you know the tropes. It's visual gags, it's things of that nature. It's kid show comedy, but it's, you know, it's if you enjoy the comedic elements of Naruto usually, then you'll enjoy this episode. And obviously, in the end, they never reveal what Kakashi's true face is, and it has the greatest reveal ever, which is that under his mask is another mask, which is comedy gold, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, this episode gets a watch. I'm going to have to blaze through these, because I have so many to get through. Naruto the Movie 1, Ninja Clash in the Land of Snow. I'm going to give this one a maybe. The movies are strange, especially early on, because the animation quality is obviously so much better than the show. The show's produced for Saturday morning TV, whereas the movies are produced for movies, so it's widescreen unlike the entirety of the show. The animation's much smoother, but the story itself is just fine. I think of the original Naruto show era movies, this is the best one, probably. It's fairly tight, it's fairly solid. The movies a lot of them have the similar pattern, which is Naruto and a team, they have to go to some place. A lot of them involve escorting a princess or a prince of some variety, and Naruto has to kill the bad guy with a big fancy Rasengan. So, it does all that, but it's good. And it's an adventure with the classic team, Team 7, so you've got all the traditional main characters are there. It's got some interesting fights. The bad guys have some interesting moves. It's fine, you know, it's okay. It has this sort of double framing device of they're escorting an actor and a director making a movie, so there's a weird meta layer to it of them making a movie within the movie. It doesn't really go anywhere, but it's, you know, it's in there, so that's interesting, isn't it? Race in the Land of Tea arc. I'm gonna give this one another maybe. This is the major filler arc that happens within the main story of Naruto. It's placed right between the Tsunade arc and the Sasuke retrieval arc. And it's an interesting spot for it because I don't think they needed a filler arc here. I believe the story was already done by this point. They'd already moved on to Shippuden, so they didn't have to put a filler arc here. I think this is here because they just wanted one more adventure with the classic Team 7 lineup. They wanted one more adventure with Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. And as that, it's fine. It's a little bit boring. The setup is they have to protect this guy who has to run a race for these two clans. This was kind of set up in an earlier filler episode, which I forgot to mention, where Naruto gets kidnapped in a hot spring, which is in the middle of the Tsunade arc. It's kind of part of this one because it leans into it. It's in the Land of Tea, and we meet the Lord of the Land of Tea in that arc, and it continues in this one. That episode is skippable. For this one, it's got some stuff. It provides more reason for Sasuke's leaving, so it's kind of integrated in that way, although it's not nearly as relevant as the other stuff that had happened to this point. The guy they're escorting, it turns out, is the younger brother of Ibiki, who's that guy from the Chunin exams. It's his younger brother, who he thought was dead because he was tricked into stealing a scroll, like Naruto in the first episode. But he has a redemption arc, he hates ninja, and then he doesn't hate ninja anymore. I refer to these characters in a lot of these filler arcs as NPCs. That doesn't make sense, but it's a game design term where they're like background extras, or it's more like in an MMO. in an MMO, when you go to a new location, there's going to be like a main NPC for that region. So for any of these filler arcs, there's always like a main NPC of the filler arc. And this is because the character arcs of the main characters can't advance in any way. Instead, it all goes to these filler characters who only exist for this arc. They're the ones who get all of the growth because they're the only characters that can get growth. And generally, the success or failure of the filler arcs is going to be widely determined by how interesting those NPC characters are. And this guy is whatever. His connection to Ibiki doesn't make him that interesting because Ibiki, while having a cool scene in the actual show, is not a very depthful character. And the reveal that he has a brother is, whatever. But this one is short. It's okay. It's a little bit boring, but it's not an automatic skip. There's some interesting stuff in there. Land of Rice investigation arc. This takes place right after the end of the Sasuke retrieval arc, and it's the branch arc into what will become just full filler for the next 100 episodes. And it does its best to try and integrate into the main story. The idea is that immediately following failing to get Sasuke back, Naruto and Sakura just decide they're going to go and do it anyway, and Jiraiya, realizing that they're just going to go no matter what they say, decides he should probably go with them as a bodyguard. And they end up going to the Land of Rice, which is where the Sound Village is supposedly, even though, as they discover, the Sound Village isn't real, per se. It's just kind of the name given to Orochimaru's various labs. And obviously they don't end up fighting Sasuke, instead they find an alternate lab where Orochimaru had screwed over this clan called the Fuka clan? Oh, I should have looked these things up. I was so close. It's the Fuma clan. They were screwed over by Orochimaru. They meet this girl. Her brother was taken by them, so they have to go and investigate. They end up in what I would consider actually a pretty cool fight with a couple of the Fuma clan folks. You can generally gauge how good or bad these by how much they commit to making the fights interesting. But there's a shot where someone disguised as Kabuto rips their heart out, and if they crush their heart, then it'll kill Naruto. It's very strange. There's some bizarre body horror going on in this arc. But it has what I think is good stuff, which is, in the anime, this arc is the motivation for Sakura to start training with Tsunade when she realizes that she's useless and can't do anything, which is true. So there's actually some character growth in this one for Sakura. There's some good moments between her and Jiraiya where she, at the start, treats him with this reverence because he's one of the Sannin, and then by the end of the arc she's learned to treat him like a dirty little pervert like Naruto does, which is quite fun. So overall, I would give this one a thumbs up. I think this one is worth a watch. Mizuki Prison Break arc. Oh boy, you remember Mizuki? He's the guy from episode 1 who tricks Naruto into stealing the scroll. And then after that point, he becomes a completely pointless character because he was mostly just a framework to get the ball rolling. He's an extremely minor character, but they decided, we're going to bring him back and we're going to make him a cat man. The idea behind this one is, he's in ninja prison, he mounts an escape with these two dumbasses who are basically Tweedledee and Tweedledum. They're super strong, but idiots. And they only care about food. They're very strange. But he breaks out with them, and we reveal that he was originally going to steal that scroll for Orochimaru, so he takes a potion that makes him into a cat man. It's kind of a prototype of the curse mark, except it makes him into a furry as opposed to into like a strange mutant that it does for the other people. And it's dumb. And most of this arc is about Naruto and Iruka to try and recreate the first episode. But the problem with that is Iruka, I like Iruka, but he's not a very interesting character to watch fight. He's the most basic guy ever. He throws kunai and does kicks. It's just not very exciting. And the confrontation just feels like it drags on with Mizuki, and he's just not a compelling villain. I'm gonna give this one a skip. Even though you get to see him turn into a muscular cat man, it's not worth it. Skip it. The Bikōchū Search arc. So Naruto is still trying to find Sasuke, and Team 8, which is Hinata, Shino, and Kiba, they overhear this, and Hinata, because she has a crush on Naruto, wants to find a way to help him, and Shino suggests that there's these magical tracking bugs that will take you. You give them a cent and they will track you across the world to find whoever it is. They're just that good. But they're also extremely rare because everyone used to use these things. They've been hunted to extinction and now they're only in one place and it's hard to find them. But they get consent to go find this bug. They bring along Naruto. Because Naruto's name is in the show, so he has to be in every single episode of filler, basically. They go to this magical grove to find this bug. Oh, as part of the framework of this, Tsunade gives Naruto an ultimatum that he has, if they don't find it, he has to give up on trying to look for Sasuke and focus on other things. Which is basically the show's way of saying, look, we can't keep framing every single one of these arcs as him looking for Sasuke, we have to do other stuff eventually. So you know they're going to fail in this mission, obviously, but it becomes a question of how. They get to this grove, there's another clan of bugmen looking for it, they use bees, so they fight lots of bees, and in the end when they find the bug, Naruto farts, and that's the resolution. They get the bug, but he farts, so now the bug only ever wants to search for his farts. Which is a terrible resolution. But overall, I'm going to give this one maybe, because I kind of like it. Hinata's my favourite character, and she gets some stuff to do in this, which is nice. I appreciate it when characters who normally don't get anything to do get things to do, because that makes all this filler feel worthwhile. She has a cool action moment, she develops some new powers. That this is a Hinata-centric arc. And that means it's good for me, even though there's a scene where Naruto spots her dancing naked in a waterfall, which is extremely weird because they're like 13, and it makes me uncomfortable, but that's anime sometimes, isn't it? The Curry of Life arc. Okay, where to begin? So, Naruto gets sent on a mission with Team Guy minus Guy. They have to stop. So a crime family's taken over a random village, and Naruto and the crew, they have to go in and stop them from having taken over. But on top of that, their home base for this is a curry shop that Guy and Lee once ventured to once, and they make this very spicy curry. It's called the Curry of Life, and Rock Lee just loves this stuff. He cannot get enough of it. He lives and breathes this curry, and it's very strange. But the head of the crime family is one of the members of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist. And curiously, he's I think the only filler character ever to actually get incorporated into canon, because there's a shot of him in the manga later, which is just a shot of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen, and it's oh hey, it's that guy, he's from filler. And his swords make it back in as well, so that's something. But overall, this arc is kind of Team Guy is, I think, my least favourite of the kind of crews, because Neji is very dry, Tenten doesn't do anything, and Lee is just always a missed opportunity because he has one of the most badass fights in the entire show and then he never does anything that cool again. All he ever does from that point forward is kicks that get easily blocked. It's very disappointing. There's an awful subplot about the owner of the curry shop's son has joined the crime family, and he's just a little shit who keeps doing annoying things and pissing off his elderly mother. He's just not likeable, and so much of the plot is about him. It's just not very interesting, but the fights with the swordsman guy are kind of neat, and it's neat that he's a filler guy who became canon. You know, it's not the worst, it's okay. The Great Survival Challenge. Skip it. This is a single episode. Naruto gets assigned to Konohamaru and some kids from the academy to do some survival training. It's boring. Nothing happens. Skip. Movie 2. Legend of the Stone of Gelel. Maybe. This one is fine. It's not as good as the first one. It's not as well paced. There's some interesting fights in it. There's a lot of weird steampunk technology going on that doesn't really mesh with the Naruto style. But, you know, it's something. It has Shikamaru in it, which is good because I like Shikamaru, but he doesn't do much. Also, noteworthy, Sakura wins a fight, which I think may be the first time she wins a fight in the entire series. So that's an accomplishment, isn't it? She does a cool thing where she like tricks this person into fighting inside one of those wind chime things. I'll be honest, I kind of phased out halfway through watching this movie, But you know what? I'll give it a maybe. It's okay. There's worse uses of your time. Bounty Hunter's arc. Skip, probably. Naruto, Kiba, and Hinata, they have to go and find a bounty, and they end up in a rivalry with this other bounty hunter, but it turns out that he was wronged by this guy in the past, and they have to redeem him, and whatever. There's a cute moment, because I like all the cute moments between Naruto and Hinata, because I'm basic. She hands him like a rice ball with his face on it, and that's cute, I guess, but overall, The appearance of strange visitors. This is a comedy episode. Two guys disguise themselves as Guy and Lee. They look nothing like him, and everyone can tell except for Naruto, because I guess Naruto has face blindness. So everyone else in the village plays pranks on these guys and makes them do all these ridiculous things, but Naruto can't see through it. It's fine. You know, there's some good jokes in it, but it's a single joke that drags on way too long and stays past its prime, but it's not the worst thing ever. The Cursed Warrior arc. Skip. It's another Team Guy one. They have to go to this village in the Land of Flowers, I think. Is this one the Land of Flowers? I think this one's the Land of Flowers, where there's a ghost. There's a ghost in samurai armor, but it turns out it's not a ghost, it's just a guy. And then it turns out it's another guy, and there's a whole bunch of, like, whodunit Scooby-Doo-esque twists to it that are just not very interesting. Like, it turns out that the prince they were protecting was actually the prince's younger brother, and big reveal, I guess. It's just not very interesting. Shockingly, it's the only arc in the entirety of these Naruto filler arcs to feature Kakashi, which seems insane because, you know, it's Kakashi. He's one of the most popular characters in the show. Why is he only in one filler arc? But he's not enough to save this from total mediocrity, so I'm gonna give this one a skip. Mix it, stretch it, boil up, burn, copper pot, burn. Skip. Okay, where to start? This is another comedy episode, but this one is just bad comedy. You remember the ramen guy? Famous Naruto character, the ramen guy? He has a rivalry with a ninja chef. And the ninja chef, they decided that food pellets weren't enough. They had to cook fine dining meals for ninjas on missions, but the problem became that all of the ninja became fat because their food was too good. This episode is 90% fat jokes. It's just not very good. Yeah, there's a rivalry. They've kidnapped ramen guy's daughter, but she's fat now because they've been feeding her too much, and isn't that funny? No, skip. It's bad. The Land of Sea arc. I'm going to say this one is a watch. Anko, a character who gets nothing to do in filler despite having a really interesting backstory, gets a lot of depth added in this one. They kind of explore her relationship with Orochimaru because she has to go to this mission in the Land of Sea with a very strange mix of teams. It's Naruto, Shino, and Ino. It's just whoever was available, I guess. They go on this mission. One of Orochimaru's secret labs is there. They think he might be there. It turns out he's not there, but they have to deal with some of his experiments and, like, this scientist guy who used to work with him. And they reveal that this is where Anko was initially basically rejected by Orochimaru. It's where she got her curse mark and she survived, but Orochimaru decided she wasn't strong enough. She got abandoned on the beach with none of her memories. And it's good. It's a fairly decent backstory. There's some interesting stuff. There's a fish girl who Naruto befriends because, like Naruto, she's perceived as a monster by the locals. They should start a club. There's so many of those around the Naruto world. But yeah, I think the best filler arcs are the ones that fill in some of the backstory of some of the supporting characters who just don't get much to do in the main story, and this is one of them. It fills in some of the backstory for Anko. It's good. Anko is good. Anko deserves so much more than she got in the main show. So, you know, at least we have this as some sort of... We have this as a consolation. Impossible Celebrity Ninja Art Money Style Jutsu. Skip. Naruto has to guard a little spoiled brat, and he uses money, and he casts money. He does the spell money. There you go, I've explained the whole joke. It's bad. The Treasure Hunt arc. I'm gonna give this one a watch. It's only 2 episodes, it's fun. A lot of these arcs use the team combo of Naruto, Hinata, and Kiba, which is a strange pairing, but I think the writers just like doing cute stuff with Hinata, so that's fine, because I like that too. Tsunade sends him on this mission. It turns out it's a trick, but there's some fun character stuff. There's a group of people who clone the three of them, and they have to figure out who the real one is. It's just a nice little adventure. I think this one's good. Please, Mr. Postman. Maybe Naruto is just randomly walking through a village and comes across Jiraiya. It's just a complete coincidence. And Jiraiya comes up with the excuse that he's not training Naruto yet because he hasn't finished his book. And so Naruto overnight writes his book and it's bad. And they have to track down the postman, but this is no ordinary postman. It's a ninja postman who will, no matter what, deliver their poster. So they have to go on this magical quest to stop this super powerful postman. And, it's comedy. It's fine. It's okay. It's a maybe. The Hidden Star Village arc. This is another maybe. It's another team guy one, which they just never do anything. I don't understand. I think they could be interesting, but they never do anything. But the Hidden Star, it's a made-up village for filler, but their whole deal is they have a chunk of space metal that gives them magic powers, but it's also killing them. And so you've got one faction in the village who wants to use this magic power to make themselves super strong and, take over the whole world with their magic star powers, blah, 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 blah. And the other side that says, this thing is killing us, we shouldn't use it. And Naruto and crew get mixed up in this conflict. And it's kind of interesting. The powers that the stars give you are kind of neat. They're a cool visual where it kind of appears behind you and you do stuff with it and you can fly. And there's some interesting things going on with this one. There's some creativity on display. There's some stuff with it that gets kind of boring after a while. It's it's one of the longer arcs of pre-Shippuden filler. But, it's okay. It's okay. Baby. You give it a go. Kiba's Long Day. Skip. Single episode, Akamaru gets rabies. That's the entire episode. It's boring. These are my favourite, the ones I can summarise in 2 seconds. A Legend from the Hidden Leaf, the Onbaa. Skip. Naruto gets this weird Sasquatch thing stuck to his back and it won't come off, and it's weird. It's played for laughs, but it's kind of like this eldritch horror abomination where it keeps growing stronger and larger, and it's clung to Naruto's back because it thinks it's his mummy, and it's just weird. It's weird and bad. I don't like it. Laughing Shino, 3 comedy episodes in a row, huh? Skip. The promise of this one is that Shino will laugh, and goddamn it does he laugh, but it's not good. He laughs because he takes a drug, not because of anything genuinely funny. He's on Joker laughing gas. And then the rest of the episode is just about Naruto not laughing because there's this weird scheme where this guy, he faked his death, and in his will he says that if the person laughs at the funeral, then he gives up all the inheritance, so they have to hire someone who won't laugh. But it was all a ruse, you see, because this guy, he just wanted to bring laughter back into his family. And if that sounds extremely stupid and extremely convoluted, it is. It's dumb and it's bad, and skip it. The Land of Green's Escort arc. I think in the Japanese version this is called the Land of Vegetables, which is funny, but whatever. I'm gonna say this one is a watch. It's a weird team combo again. It's Naruto, Hinata, and Choji. They get a mission to escort some merchants back to their homeland, but it turns out that amongst them is a princess. Oh my goodness, another secret princess, who could have guessed? But this one has some cool fights. The village they're going back to has been taken over by some evil ninja, and each of them has to fight the evil ninja, but each member of the team gets a cool fight, including Hinata. Hinata gets a cool fight in this, which might be the only time Hinata ever gets a cool fight in anything ever. So, that's cool. And it's genuinely, it's a good fight. She has to fight a guy who uses magnets. He kicks Naruto's ass, but because she has the Byakugan, she's able to see his weakness, and he is able to defeat him. It's cool. It's good. I like it when minor characters get cool things to do. And in case it wasn't clear yet, I have a Hinata bias, so, you're just gonna have to deal with that. But also Naruto fights a guy who uses space lasers, so, he does the thing you do with ants where he holds up a magnifying glass and uses the beam of the sun to fight people, and that's kind of cool as well, isn't it? So yeah, I think this one's worth watching. Ino screams Chubby Paradise. Oh boy, you guessed it, it's more fat jokes, but Ninja Elvis is in it. And it's always very interesting to see a Japanese take on American culture, so it's worth it for that kind of, but other than that, this is probably a skip, but I'll give it a maybe for Ninja Elvis. Viva Dojo Challenge! Youth is all about passion! I love the name of some of these episodes. This is another maybe. Rock Lee sets up a dojo because he wants to fight people, but no one is coming to it, so Guy decides he'll be the first target, so he puts on a terrible disguise, but then he gets called away on a mission, and someone else thinks that's what Guy looks like and disguises himself as Guy. Yes, it happens again. There's 2 filler episodes where someone disguises themselves as Mike Guy to sneak into the village. But yeah, it's comedy, it's fine, it's okay. It's a maybe. The Mysterious Curse of the Haunted Castle. It's a haunted castle, you can skip it. It's Naruto, Hinata, and Kiba, but they go to a haunted castle and it's pretty much exactly what you think it is. Naruto's afraid of ghosts, and that's funny, isn't it? The Third Great Beast arc. Skip. Mike Guy finds a new protege. It's some guy, but it turns out that he's actually an imposter, and really he's the son of some guy that Mike Guy fought before. And this guy and his siblings want revenge. But their method of revenge is to fight everyone with a bunch of wooden dummies that they control with magic. So it's not good. It also feels completely out of place because a part of it is Rock Lee dealing with the fallout of his injuries, even though he's had several arcs before where this hasn't come up at all, so it seems like this should have come earlier. But you know what? Whatever, skip it anyway. You can pretend it doesn't exist. I don't know what you'd call this one. I'm going to call it the Leaf Village Investigation Arc. I don't know what to call it, but it's a good one. You should watch it. Basically, there's this old guy who Naruto befriended because they eat ramen together, but it turns out that he was a criminal. He was a rogue ninja who was plotting to destroy the Leaf Village. And he gets murdered, he blows himself up, but there's a conspiracy afoot, and they have to try and figure out what's going on. And it's a pretty good mystery. All of the main kind of core kid cast are involved. They all get stuff to do. They all have to go to various places. Like Sakura has to go and perform an autopsy on the body. Naruto and Shikamaru, they go to question his place of work. All this different stuff. It's a cool mystery to uncover, and Shikamaru gets to show off how smart he is. And in the end, it has a neat resolution. I think this is a really good filler arc. The top 5 ninja battles. Skip in capital letters. It's just exactly what you think it is. It's a clip show of some fights from previous episodes. If I want to do that, I'll just watch them on YouTube, thank you. The Genjutsu Painter arc. Watched. This one is expanding on a character who does nothing in canon, which is Kurenai. She basically exists so that Asuma can continue the Saratobi line, so that's good for her. But this one actually plays into that she's supposed to be one of the best Genjutsu users in the village. There was this apprentice from this clan of famous Genjutsu users who she's super powerful, and there's a lot of trippy, weird visuals with people inside mind games and all this. And this protege is another Naruto. Her powers were so good that they had to be sealed away, so she's thought of as a monster and all that. But I think fleshing out Kurenai is a very good thing to do. There's some interesting world building going on it. There's some interesting visuals. This girl has a demon inside of her, a Genjutsu demon of her subconscious, which is driving all of this crazy stuff. So I think this is good. I think this is a good one. The Way of the Prized Artefact. Skip. Naruto and Kiba have to protect this jackass who has this magic vase. I think it's a vase or a bowl or something, and it keeps almost getting shattered because this guy's an asshole. And then it does get shattered, and he's like, fine, it wasn't the artifact, I was the artifact all along because I'm a master artisan. And then the episode ends. It's bad, it's dumb, to watch it. The Ninja Dropout arc. I'm going to give this one a maybe. Naruto, Sakura, and Rock Lee are assigned to protect a prison transport of this guy who's a ninja dropout, which is basically their way of saying rogue ninja. They're ninja who became criminals. But this one guy, it turns out, he was betraying them. He was going to turn them all in because he got sick of all their crimes. He's secretly been sparing all the children that he was supposed to murder. So he's kind of nice. He's a big evil-looking guy who turns out has a heart of gold, which is a trope I kind of like. There's this other guy who's a police officer who thought his brother was murdered, so he really wants to kill this guy, but it turns out his brother wasn't murdered. All that stuff. Some kind of neat fights, some good character stuff. It does get a bit boring, but I'll give this one a maybe. Movie 3, Guardians of the Crescent Moon Kingdom. Skip. This movie's boring. It seems like it has promise because it's got Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi, and Rock Lee. They're going on a mission to protect a prince, as per usual. But most of the movie is actually about the prince's son, who's just a little shit, who is a spoiled brat who hates everyone, but he has this arc of learning to love and care for and have friends and blah blah. It's boring. It's badly paced. It's just not a very good movie. Sakura wins a fight again, so that's cool. She uses super strength for the first time, I believe. But obviously because that's a surprise in Shippuden, she can't use it in front of anyone else, so she's kind of separated off into her own little corner for that fight. But it's fine. I mean, it's not fine. The movie's bad, but, things happen, and that's exciting. The Amnesia arc. Skip. So this one is only relevant to me in the English anime adaptation because it stars Will Wheaton, also known as Wesley Crusher on Star Trek. And Will Wheaton plays a badass, super friendly amnesiac ninja who can play an ocarina to enhance chakra. But it turns out he used to be a criminal before he lost his memory, but then it turns out he didn't actually lose his memory and he was just lying, and then he blows himself up, and it's so cool and so badass because he's Will Wheaton, everyone's favourite. Except for me, it's bad. It's not very good or interesting, skip it. And last but not least, or maybe least depending on your perspective, the Land of Artisans arc. This one starts off so strong. Basically, the idea is to be an inversion of the Sasuke retrieval arc, where at the end of that, the three Sand Shinobi, they come and they rescue everyone. And this is set up to be the opposite, where someone close to Gaara gets an apprentice who is technically not a filler character because she shows up in Shippuden, but they kind of give her some backstory here. She's Gaara's apprentice. She gets kidnapped by this group of ninja from the Land of Artisans, and their deal is they all use super advanced ninja tools. And so just like in the Naruto retrieval arc, each of them ends up in a fight with one of these people, and then all the Leaf Ninja get to show up to rescue them. Except as soon as they get there, it doesn't really work because initially it's kind of funny because they all show up to help, and then it turns out that they're not actually being all that helpful and they're just getting in the way. And there's a great joke where Naruto and Lee are running to rescue Gaara from their fight, and they're doing the big dramatic, like, we're here to help, and two of the teams are there, but Naruto and Lee aren't there yet. They're still running there and like, oh, we haven't actually got there yet, so we can't do the dramatic speech. I'm not explaining it very well. It's a clever editing joke. But yeah, they get there and then Gaara just does all the work anyway, so it's kind of pointless that they even showed up. It does get points for including what might just be the worst design I've ever seen in my entire life. Look at this guy. What the fuck is this? What is going on? He's got like spikes on his head, and he's got a spike coming out of his chest, and he's got magic floating things. He looks like a dork. What are you doing? But yeah, it starts off really strong. There's still some good stuff between Shikamaru and Tamari, which I enjoy, because I like romantic chemistry, what can I say? But overall, it's unfortunately not great. I'm still going to give it a maybe because it has some good stuff, but yeah. And it does end halfway through and then transition into the actual finale of Naruto, so you kind of have to watch the last half of this arc. But overall, it's a missed opportunity. It feels like it could have been good, but it's just not. And that about does it for every single episode of Naruto filler. So I hope that was worthwhile. I don't know how to end this. I've done them all now. Let's just transition back to me. Well, I hope you enjoyed that descent into madness. Will I do a Shippuden? Probably, if this video does anything. Or maybe if it doesn't, because I had fun making this. So there you go. And of course, a very special thank you to my wonderful patrons for your continued support. If you'd like to see your name up here, or just support the things that I do, then please consider signing up. It would mean a lot to me. As well as a like, a comment, a share, a subscribe, and hit the bell. I always forget to say that, but YouTube seems to not like me right now, so if you hit the bell, you'll get notified whenever I upload a video, and tell YouTube to go screw itself, I assume. If you want to see my other Naruto video, it's up here. I made it like 3 or 4 years ago at this point, and it's not up to my current standards at all. In fact, I rewatched it recently, and I thought I need to remake this entire thing, but I just cannot get into the habit of remaking all my old videos. I just can't. Anyway, here's something else that YouTube will decide.